Hello, my friends. Assalamu alaikum. Let's deal with the question, why don't many people believe that there is a personal God who had been sending messengers like Adam, Noah, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad? Let's begin, my friends. The question of why some people do not believe in a personal God who has sent messengers over time can be approached from several perspectives, including philosophical, cultural, and psychological factors. Here are some key reasons why people may not accept the idea of a personal God, even with the strong preservation of religious texts like the Quran and the consistent message of prophets like Adam, Noah, Moses, and Jesus. So let's explore those reasons. Number one, philosophical and intellectual doubts. My friends, many people who do not believe in a personal God or the divine scheme involving messengers might do so because of philosophical or intellectual reasons. These include, number one, problem of evil. One of the main reasons for disbelief in a personal God is the existence of evil and suffering in the world. People ask, if God is all powerful and all good, why does He allow so much suffering, injustice, and natural disasters? Number two, lack of empirical evidence. Some individuals, especially in the modern scientific era, rely heavily on empirical evidence, that is, what can be observed, tested, and measured. Since the existence of God cannot be scientifically proven in a laboratory, some reject the idea altogether. Point number three, philosophical materialism. My friends, many people, especially in the West, subscribe to philosophical materialism. This is a belief that emphasizes that only matter and physical processes exist, and that consciousness, morality, and the universe can all be explained without reference to a divine being. Let's move on, my friends. The next factor is cultural and historical factors. My friends, cultural context plays a huge role in shaping one's beliefs about God and religion. Here are some important factors. Number one, secularism and modernity. In many parts of the world, especially in the West, there has been a strong movement towards secularism over the past few centuries. The Enlightenment period in Europe promoted reason, science, and humanism as alternatives to traditional religious beliefs. As societies became more secular, belief in a personal God began to decline, and religion was increasingly seen as a private matter rather than a public truth. Point number two, historical disillusionment. My friends, events such as wars, colonialism, and religious conflicts have led some to question the legitimacy of religious institutions and, by extension, the idea of God. When people see religion used as a tool for oppression and violence, they may lose faith in the idea of a loving, personal God who sends messengers to guide humanity. Point number three, cultural differences. My friends, belief in a personal God is more common in some cultures than others. For example, while many people in the West identify with secular or atheistic worldviews, in other parts of the world, such as the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia, belief in a personal God remains very strong. Cultural and geographical differences influence the likelihood of individuals accepting the notion of divine messengers. The next point is influence of atheism and agnosticism. My friends, atheism, which means the belief that there is no God, and agnosticism, which is the belief that we cannot know whether God exists. They have gained considerable influence in the modern world. Now let's look at atheistic worldview first and then agnostic skepticism. Atheistic worldview. Some prominent atheists such as Richard Dawkins or Christopher Hitchens argue that the existence of God is an outdated concept and that science can explain the origins of life and the universe without reference to a creator. They view religious belief as a psychological crutch or as an outdated explanation for natural phenomena that science can now explain more effectively. Now let's look at agnostic skepticism. Agnostics might not deny the possibility of God's existence outright, but they argue that there is insufficient evidence to believe in a personal God. For many agnostics, the idea of a God sending messengers or revealing texts is seen as speculative, and they prefer to remain skeptical about things that cannot be conclusively proven. The next point, my friends, religious pluralism and confusion. My friends, in today's world, with so many different religions, each claiming to be true, some people become confused or overwhelmed by the variety of religious messages. For example, they question which religion is true. For some people, the diversity of religious beliefs leads to confusion. They see that different religions claim to be the ultimate truth, often with conflicting doctrines. This can lead them to conclude that either none of them are true or that it is impossible to know which one is correct. The next point, religious relativism. My friends, in modern societies, there is a growing acceptance of religious relativism. This is the idea that all religions are equally valid paths to truth. This can weaken the conviction that any single religion holds the ultimate truth and may lead some to conclude that all religions are human inventions rather than divinely revealed. Next point, cultural religion. My friends, many people today follow religion more as a cultural tradition rather than as a matter of deep belief. For such individuals, religion may serve as a source of identity or community, but not necessarily as the framework through which they understand the nature of God or reality. This can result in a weaker attachment to the idea of a personal God. Next point, spiritual but not religious. My friends, many people today identify as spiritual but not religious. They may believe in a higher power, but not in the traditional concept of a personal God who sends prophets. Here are a couple of points. Number 1, personal spirituality. Some people prefer a more individualistic approach to spirituality. They may believe in a vague, impersonal force or energy that guides the universe, but reject the idea of a God who interacts personally with humanity. They might be attracted to Eastern philosophies such as Buddhism or Taoism which focus more on inner experience than on the idea of a personal interventionist deity. Next point, rejection of organized religion. My friends, many people who are spiritual but not religious, they are disillusioned with organized religion, viewing it as an overly dogmatic or corrupt. They may believe in a higher power but reject the structures, doctrines, and rituals of traditional religions. This leads them to dismiss the idea of messengers sent by a personal God. Next factor, my friends, that is psychological factors. Psychological reasons also play a significant role in disbelief in a personal God. Here are some points. Desire for autonomy. Some people are uncomfortable with the idea of a personal God who sets moral guidelines and expects obedience. They may prefer to live according to their own standards, free from the perceived restrictions of religion. This desire for personal autonomy may lead to rejection of the idea of divine authority. Point number 2, cognitive dissonance. For individuals raised in secular or atheistic environments, the idea of a personal God may conflict with their pre-existing beliefs, creating cognitive dissonance. To resolve this, they may reject belief in God altogether rather than grapple with the idea of a divine plan. Point number 3, negative experiences with religion. My friends, some people may have had negative experiences with religious institutions like clergy or communities, leading to a rejection of religion and the concept of a personal God. Abuse of authority within religious organizations can cause people to doubt the sincerity of religious claims. My friends, let me now summarize what I have discussed thus far. People may not believe in a personal God who has sent messengers for several reasons, including philosophical doubts, cultural influences, the rise of secularism, confusion due to religious diversity, and personal psychological factors. My friends, despite the compelling arguments believers find in the preservation of the Quran or the consistency of prophetic messages, these other factors contribute to a complex landscape of belief and disbelief. My friends, belief in God is often deeply influenced by one's upbringing, culture, and life experiences. And for many people, the modern world presents a variety of challenges, that is, scientific, philosophical, and cultural, that complicate the acceptance of a traditional personal God. My friends, I finished this part. Let's call it part 1. In the next part, I will be discussing the other side of the argument. So please wait for that. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.